Good evening, viewers. Welcome to another episode of the UNN, the Tower at UNN. Here we are today on this Sunday, and we are trying to look at some of the training issues in Uganda. In my studio, I'm having very many guests, but before I introduce you my guests, I just welcome everybody that has come, and we wish to appreciate all your efforts and try to see that you always with us. Today or tonight, we are trying to discuss a lot of issues. Number one, we have just gotten some breaking news that Lieutenant Muhoozi Kainerugaba has been appointed the CDF of the Uganda Army. We're going to also discuss about COVID crisis in Uganda. We're also going to look at the new cabinet, and we discuss the purpose and the element within it. And finally, we shall look at the 2021-22 budget. With me in the studio, I have, as usual, Mrs. Elizabeth Wamala, and I would like her to say hi to our viewers.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. It's nice to see you once again. I hope you're having a wonderful day.
Thank you, Mrs. Elizabeth. And as usual, she's very much well dressed up, and so we have her, and we're gonna have her discuss a lot of issues with us. Allow me also to introduce to you some other of our visitors. We have Mr. Kisitu Elias. Can you say good evening to our viewers? Can you greet our viewers?
I greet you all in the name of God, and I'm so grateful that this evening I'm here. I don't know that is that full. Thank you so much, the moderator. As he has said, by names I'm Kisitu Elias, the education officer in Uganda, a political analyst, and of course a sports person as usual. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kisitu. It's a pleasure being with you here on the UNN, and particularly on the tower at the UNN. Allow me also to introduce to you Proskovia, one of our guests, and then she introduces herself to you. Can you say good evening to our viewers, please?
Well, thank you, modulator. I'm by the names of Nantege Proskovia. I'm in Uganda, counselor by profession, and a law student at Uganda Christian University.
Thank you so much. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying good evening to everyone. And I still say thank you for inviting me here. I hope everything is well.
Thank you, Proskovia Nantegi. With pleasure to have you the tower UNN, and hope everything's gonna be fine. Just briefly, within 5 minutes, every one of you, Madam Elizabeth, would you try to establish the reason why you think there is people are so not happy with the way Lieutenant Muhoozi has been promoted, and when you look at the way he has gone through all the ladders, it's not very convincing. So let's first look at the video, and then we start our discussion.
Yeah, I can confirm to you that there has been some changes at the leadership of Special Forces Command, where we have Lieutenant General Muhoozi Kainerugaba bouncing back as the commander of Special Forces Command. He will also retain his appointment as the senior advisor on special operations, while General Birunji is heading to South Sudan to continue with the roles of General Okech, who has been championing to see that the peace initiative in South Sudan is maintained and sustained. So the changes are true, and as the Special Forces Command, we welcome these changes. Special Forces Command, during General Muhoozi's reign, picked up in terms of training, picked up in terms of professionalism. Yes, the other commanders too took up from where he stopped, developed SFC to a point where it is one of the best forces to reckon with in East Africa and Africa at large. As Special Forces Command, we welcome him and we pledge to work with him as usual. We welcome him and all the troops within the Special Forces Command. And the Special Forces Command, being a specialist organization, doing specialist training, we are happy that we shall continue to complement and supplement the services of the Uganda People's Defense Forces. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, our producer, for giving us that video. When you look at what is really happening in Uganda, it's really very, very, very appalling, Liz. Because when you look at the situation, Lieutenant General Kainerugaba is the son of the president. And in the process, he has undergone a rapid kind of promotion. As you look at, if you look at his profile, and there's so many other people that have been, that entered, joined the army at the same time, but they aren't at the same level that he is. And when you look at the other time, something like 5 months ago, he was appointed the head of SFC, which is the army that commands the president, his guard. And right now we are seeing that he's being appointed as the new CDF. What does this give to ordinary Uganda now? What does it mean? And how do you interpret such a situation where the son of the president is now the CDF? Thank you, Ms. Elizabeth. Can you have a sense out of that?
Him for that role. And most probably now, he has failed in every category. He has failed. So I believe that he places his son in that position should there be any uprising, so that, he's the only person he can trust. Who else? The other army officers he hasn't paid, like for months. So everything's just falling apart. Look at the way he elects people for ministerial positions. It's the same thing. It's just a gamble at the moment, because this man is too tired. He's too tired. He needs to retire from this job. I cannot understand why he's holding on.
But again, when Elizabeth, when you look at the whole situation, there are a lot of schools of thought. One is saying, I was discussing with a friend outside and was saying, and these people planning to overthrow themselves, to a coup d'etat, because if you see the son is taking position, and then he's the one that has always been taken to be the next president. Can't you have sense out of that?
Well, first of all, he's been in charge of the illegal army like forever. The SFC is an illegal army. It's an army that is protecting the president, but not the rest of us. It is an army that is carved out of the Uganda, I don't know how to even put it, the Ugandan army that is supposed to protect the whole country. But this one is funded in a sense, we don't even know where they're getting their money to fund this illegal army. The parliament is aware of that. So we move on to him becoming the CDF of an army, and he has never obtained any training. He all his ranks have just been thrown at him. Like he doesn't have the credentials to become that person. So for me, it's not a surprise. I would be surprised by the person that is surprised by that nomination.
According to you, don't you think this is an insult to either member of the army forces, especially those that have been in the army for long? People like Katumba Wamala, people like those strong and long-serving army officers that look at him. Do you think they will plead allegiance to him?
There was also a saying that this Katumba's assassination attempt was because they wanted to clear the way for that position, for that respective position. And now you can see what has happened. It would have been an automatic and maybe easy for him to do if Katumba was deceased, had been murdered, But at the moment, I'm sure he has kind of struggled with it. There was also a rumor that Kayihura was coming back.
Yes.
To be that. I don't know, but there was only one person that was supporting him, and he put across the point in the sense that when Kayihura was in the army, or when he was the Inspector General of Police, he used to contain the violence. He seemed to be in control. At the moment, they are all aware that everything is out of control. The population itself has come out to show a lot of dissatisfaction about the way the government is running the country. So instead of putting things right, they're trying to create foundations to be able to hold on to power. This has everything to do with the power struggle. I don't think it has anything to do with anything else. It's Museveni and his family wanting to hold firm onto the foundations of remaining in power for as long as it takes.
Okay, yes, thank you, Elizabeth. Let me turn to Elias. Elias, the president seems to be very much interested in his son, and it seems like he is trying to bring him up. He doesn't trust anybody. He thinks that possibly the son being in the army would be the solution to cling on power. What's the sense out of what you think? What do you think about that?
Yeah, thank you so much, the moderator. But only looking at a mere statement that the son of the president currently is the CDF, it is not enough. It has a lot of things that are attached to it. I understand if you have been following Ugandan politics, there are things have been going on in Uganda. President Museveni, as the #1 citizen, currently is saying is that the vice president is Major Jessica. Is this retired Major Jessica Rupo? You make me right if I happen to mess up somewhere.
We have that in our queue, but look at the president's son in particular.
You're right. Yes. But these things are connected. They are connected somewhere. There is something that is hidden that the world needs to know. A vice president, for the first time, being retired Major Jessica Arupo. If I try to look at those ones who have been serving in that post for the past few years, we've had Sekandi, the outgoing. We had Specials Awandira Kaziwe sometime back. And now you're seeing the lady coming in. Still, you see the CDF being the son, Major Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Still, you see Major Muhoozi Kainerugaba looking at the Muhoozi project. in Uganda, Major General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, Muhoozi project in Uganda. And that has been existing for so long. Then still in Uganda, you find out that Muhoozi as an individual has got a secretariat. As you are the NRM secretariat, Muhoozi secretariat. Then again, you hear about the General Studies secretariat. Those people having their secretariat, their own of how they manage issues in the country. Then you look at the current move in Uganda, whereby the youth have come up, they need something, they see that they have been traumatized in their country. And therefore, who could counter, overcome this? Then you see the Muhoozi project coming up. We saw that the artist sector, the music sector has been championing this. The artists being divided into two. Some others following the Muhoozi's project, then some others also following the project that we know very well that is training in Uganda currently to make sure that they can suffocate that. Still, you have seen this music promoter. I don't know, the name has gone out of my head. That gentleman who is fond of putting on me. Yes, now and then. Is it not Alan? Yes, Balam. Yes, Balam. You see that gentleman? Yes, coming up in the broad light to tell you that Muhoozi project. Again, around Kampala, we have seen the posts of Muhoozi, the current CDF. You've seen them everywhere around Kampala, and still. You find out that people would like to create their own empire in Uganda. They have always tried this for so long, but I think the right time had not yet come. But today, I think they see themselves as being in position of controlling each and everything. The gentleman becoming the CDF and the retired major being the vice president, I see that the gentleman is expecting anything. The first man, the first citizen is expecting anything. That when he happens to leave power, the vice president cannot pester him on anything. She cannot. The CDF, being the son, the first son, cannot do anything, given a lot of wrong things that we have seen traversing in the country. Then you're seeing the other man who is controlling almost every other profitable project in Uganda, General Sare, being the other side, again, as a top icon, a top king somewhere. You discover that automatically their empire that they have always want to build is achieved. Again, to tell you something brief that you need to know, the moderator, most especially to us here in Uganda. For the past 30 years, different regions in Uganda, the president has been trying to get that one person. He empowers that one person. He becomes an icon in such a region, such that if you want to get something from government, you must have passed through that person, such that you can get what you want. Be it a job, you pass through that individual. Be it a scholarship in government, you pass through that individual. But this time round, looking at what came out of the generations that we've so far had in Uganda, those that he had tried to build himself on, they have been dropped, all of them. No one is in parliament again.
Yes.
When you go back to look at that side of Bunyoro, where Kasaija passed an opposite, I don't know how the story traversed, but the man came back in power, and the gentleman you can look at that side of Bunyoro. Now Nabanja is coming in from the other side of Bunyoro, again being put as the prominent. Now, these things have got connections.
Cabinet.
They have got connections before you look at the side of the cabinet, but they have got connections somewhere as to why this man is becoming the CDF. Now you look at the person somewhere in is it in the West Nile, who has always been. I think they said an agreement that I should be in a cabinet every now and then, even if I don't say anything, even if I'm not in position of reading even any condolence message. Being that is representing the government. That is the gentleman you so far talked about. That side, if you had anything in the government, that's the icon, the other side. Now, the other side of the guys whom he fought with in as they are planning to come in power, the other side of Busoga, Speciosa one day Kazibe dropped. I think you're seeing what happened to the current speaker, Madam Rebecca Itora Kadaga. I think you're seeing what happened this time around, being dropped by over 6 positions in the cabinet. So people who would say no to what is transpiring in the country are aside. the son becoming the CDF, a retired major who can never say anything, who can never question the president, again coming in the cabinet. And in conclusion, the first man in the country is preparing his safe exit as their empire still stands.
Thank you, Mr. Chisitu. Thank you very much. I think everybody is getting sense out of that. Let me ask if, Proskovia, what is your take about the president appointing his son to be the CDF? And according to what Mr. Chisitu has said, it's like the president is trying to set a trend whereby they wanted to maintain their what they promised for themselves, that there should be a continuation or an evolution of the Bahima dynasty, or what they call the Hima dynasty. What is your take about the president appointing his son as a CDF?
Well, thank you, Mr. Modulator. Yes, I'll want to thank my co-speakers that have just said something. In relation to that, I think, one, the president is quite stressed in that he lacks accountability. So many times, our president, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has tried to be versatile. But this time round, it is evident that he's trying to get something, but it's still getting out of his hands. Because when we look at the current cabinet and whatever he has done, and the way he appointed the current cabinet, it is evident that he's trying to bring people, I think, that are loyal to him, because he's not trusting anyone this time round. I think him appointing Mhozi Kainerugaba, his son, as the CDF, it is because, one, he's lacking trust. He no longer trusts any Ugandan. You know, there is a time that Museveni thought he was it all. Like, no one would come. He never expected, because he has always created his own opposition in Uganda. Now, he never expected that there is anyone that can come up and challenge him the way Robert Kyagulanyi did. Now, the mere fact that Museveni was challenged in the past election brought him not to trust any other person now apart from his son, because he knows even when his son overthrows him, it's still the same family. And this is what he has always wished for. The other thing would be he wants probably the army to start believing in his son. So many times, so many people have lost their lives just because the president has got to know that they do not believe in his son becoming the next president of Uganda. We've heard of so many incidences where assassinations have come in, but rumors come, and probably it is alleged that there's some personalities within the government that are probably accountable for taking other people's lives because they do not believe in General Muhoozi becoming the next president of Uganda. Now, by the fact that even the army itself does not believe in Muhoozi becoming the next president of Uganda, you find that Museveni is trying as much as he can to give promotions to his son to a level that everyone in the army can come to believe that really his son is best fit for that position. And this is something that has brought so many people's lives at risk. Just like the co-speaker just said, that even the current attempted assassination of General Katumba Wamala is believed that it is it came as a result of being that he's one of the threats. Museveni is scared of every person that has taken long in the army and does not believe that Muhoozi is worth becoming the next president of Uganda, because so many people have waited, so many people have served in the army and they have not been promoted. How comes that just this young boy that has just been, he has just come into the army is being promoted at such a faster rate? Now, being the fact that Museveni is unpopular in Uganda, the citizens of Uganda and Ugandans at large do not believe in him anymore. People are dissatisfied and they want him to leave. He wants to pave way for his son to come on power, believing that since he's a youth, maybe he can challenge his closest ally now, who is Kyagulanyi Bobi Wine Sentamu. Now he thinks that probably Muhoozi being a youth, if he's given such promotion, he comes up with the different projects like the Muhoozi project, because everywhere you see a challenge and maybe the youths are trying to complain, they're trying to show their dissatisfaction, Museveni makes sure that Muhoozi comes in and puts the project through the different individuals, just like Arias just said, that he comes in with the different people, the Balams and whatsoever, to ensure that they occupy the youth and try to show them that Muhoozi is worth replacing the position of Kyagulanyi being a youth. But unfortunately, the youths in Uganda they're trying to show that this time round they know what they want and they're not ready to follow the Museveni lies, because time immemorial, so many times the president has tried to confuse Ugandans and the youth at large. So I think him appointing his son as a CDF, he's trying to confuse Ugandans. One, two, he's not trusting anyone now in Uganda. And this is evidence from it is evidence in the way that he's trying to appoint now people, because if you're not loyal to him, he can no longer be next to you, or you can no longer be next to him. Then also he's trying to pave way, like for the son, to make sure that he buys popularity within the citizens and Ugandans. But I think Muhoozi has done a disservice to Ugandans through his SFC as the commander, because when we look at the so many abductions that are taking place in the country, the assassinations, they're all are rotated around the SFC that is abducting people, and they're using the army everywhere in towns and cities to threaten Ugandans, to abduct people. And it's creating fear in Ugandans that he wants to promote his son at the extent that he makes every Ugandan to be in fear that let us just live.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for the analysis. I think for the purposes of time, let's look at another issue. The issue, which is so much interrelated to what we are trying to discuss, is the issue of the new cabinet. Mr. Kisitu was trying to make an analogy that issues to do with, he was trying to make an interrelation between the cabinet and the appointment of Lieutenant General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. I think let's shift right now to the issue of the cabinet. I wanted to Mr. Kisitu to make a good clarification of your allegation that if you look at what is really happening, there is what I see that the army has really surfaced so much in the cabinet. If you look at what really came up in the new cabinet, we have more than 5 or 6 army officers. And also, if you look at the issue of women, I think this will go to Madame Liz and Proskovia, that the issue of women, and they're talking about this to be the future for the women. I mean, it's quite very interesting because, in a situation whereby you have only we have a lot of gender imbalance, you tend to find trouble with running a government. Then I also see another issue of ego versus reality, and also power versus position. You see, when you look at this cabinet, does it really have the power, or is it just a matter of positions that have been surfacing? So let me start with Mr. Kisitu, because you talked about this issue very much. I mean, within a few minutes, can you please make your analogy clear about the cabinet vis-a-vis the appointment of why the army too much? Is it position versus power, or is it ego? Is it trying to suppress some of these people that we are trying, like Madam Speaker, the former Speaker of Parliament, Kadag? Is this suffocating her? What is your take about this, Mr. Kisitu? Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But in relation to in a state that I can describe as being sorry, and if we don't actually try to be very much analytical as the people who are trying to find the means of survival in Uganda, we may end up becoming like most of our brothers and sisters who said that enough is enough, let us leave Uganda, because it is now very much evident. The cabinet, as President Museveni was addressing the nation sometime back, he said that he based on royalty, how royal someone is to him,
yes,
to be given some post somewhere. When you look at all the ministries that we have in Uganda, it is on record, it has come on record that the ministries have operated for a period of 4 weeks, almost going to a month, without ministers being there. Then the question is, do we need ministers? Permanent secretaries have always been doing everything. A permanent secretary does the technical work.
Yes.
A minister is responsible for making sure that he fulfills what was put in the manifesto. When you look at other countries, ministers are even changed in months. When you look at France, a minister can easily be changed. Take a case study of France. In Uganda, ministers always put there like icons, and they stay there for as long as they want, because we've seen those ones who have been ministers for very many years. They are not changed. When you look at their productivity, this guy is in quotes somewhere. Their productivity is zero. Then the other, what is looked at to give you a ministerial post is your contribution in the past elections. What did you do? How was the mobilization? How did our party perform on your side? Then they look at that to give you a post somewhere. And we have seen, on the side note, we've even seen the cultural leaders somewhere celebrating that, oh, we have got these ministers. However much they can do nothing, but they celebrate. The appointment of Honorable Nabanja as the Prime Minister, I saw is it this one of is this person called Omumukama? Is it of Bunyoro, that side of Bunyoro? Thanking her so much for having reached that office and expecting too much from the lady, which is again not true. So when you look at the procedures that the president follows to get the ministers, indeed they are not so much good. And in return, you look at their productivity being zero. We've had the Ministry of Agriculture. Ministry of Agriculture, the president putting in different projects to help in transforming the society. Projects have failed completely. You look at the Ministry of ICT, which I think they have just put that some years back, where this who was once the minister of Kampala, who caused a lot of troubles in Kampala, was I think the first minister, this gentleman from that side. You can remind me of the name. Not Kamya, is a gentleman. Because they have havoc in Kampala something back. this man. The name has gone out of my head. But when I remember it, I'll tell. Is who?
Frank.
You mean Nyomi Tembo?
Frank, yes, Frank Tumwebaze. Frank Tumwebaze, yes, Frank Tumwebaze.
Okay.
Thank you so much, colleague. Frank Tumwebaze, who caused a lot of havoc in Kampala. ICT, when you look at it again in Uganda, you're not seeing anything going on, like productive. You're not seeing any fruits out of it. Then you look at other ministries that have always been there. The Ministry of Transport. The person whom they have been trying to assassinate of recent is the person who has actually tried to see that things go on the right direction. And I think in the way of rewarding him, you saw the life of the daughter was paid as a price for that. But for very many years, we have not been seeing anything. When you look at the Prime Minister activities, I think in Parliament and outside, I think that's the person. Looking at Ruakana Rugunda, who has been there. Looking at Mbabazi, who has been there. Looking at Zitin Sibambi, who was there also. Those things that I can look at that have served. I don't know whether there is any project that you can speak on and you said this project was championed by ABCD Prime Minister and Uganda has reached that ABCD level. Nothing has been achieved. Looking at the issue of vice presidency, the vice president on record who came up with some developmental projects in Uganda to make sure that the societies are transformed. I think you remember the issue of rice. I think you remember that very well. Is it upland rice?
Yes.
Which project was being handled by Professor Gilbert Badibasekapu Kenya. And everyone was, most of the Ugandans had started growing that. What happened to him up to now, I don't think is that the gentleman is so happy. Then looking at second coming to serve for 2 terms in office, not saying anything, being so quiet, not even saying anything. I remember seeing the gentleman saying something on the money that he refunded back, that scuffle that existed between the speaker and the president about the COVID-19 money which was given to the members of parliament to go and serve Uganda, at least try to serve their people in their constituencies. That is what I heard from the gentleman speaking about that have brought back the money to the government treasury. That are fine. So the thing is, the cabinet will not have any significant impact to the development of Uganda as it has always been. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chisitu. And Elizabeth, according to what you said, that the president has reached the law. I think the economists call it the law of diminishing return. He cannot add on anything. And when you look at what he's trying to do, the positioning of these ladies in the cabinet, is it a sympathy kind of to the women? What is it? What do you think? What do you get sense out of it?
In this situation, he's looking around himself and wondering who else, should I just throw into this role? Because the problem has been that as the previous co-host has been has been saying, that these people have not performed. They do not go there to perform. So he just about tries to change them around. It's just a mere change of guard for somebody else to man the position. There's loyalty involved as well, whereby this person is being paid it's like a form of compensation for being loyal to him. But I don't think that he is of the view that this person can actually perform better than any other person that has performed or that has been placed in that position since President Museveni came to power. So I don't know why Ugandans are surprised about these elections, because we do not have a way of challenging people, of asking people for accountability in the positions they have served. So for me, it's, I don't know whether, I think he was just lost for choice. He didn't know who. I was on a program yesterday, and I kind of mentioned, I was informed that there was another bigger person, another bigger fish they were trying to bring into that position, but he turned it down, explaining to Salim Saleh, who had approached him, that this government is a sinking ship, and I'm not just about to go down with it, you know. So I think then they had to scrape around and see who can we really place in this position. And there came Nabanja. But you know, to my surprise was the fact that when these I mean, people were kind of questioning why they had placed such a person in that position. And then he came out and said that he's acting like Jesus. You know, he left all the educated and experienced people and invited the Pharisees into like his cabinet. So he's now playing God. He's trying to tell us that, you know, yeah, he has looked away from people who are capable of doing the job, and electing somebody that he truly knows is incapable. You know, he should have tried to defend him, to defend her, but he doesn't. Him being President Museveni, because that's what he does best. You know, put the same people that he has elected for post, he puts down. You know,
Elizabeth, Elias said that, I mean, makes an allegation that it was an issue of people that can, you know, say yes than those that can rigidly try to, you know, to refuse some of the stuff that the president might need to do. Do you see that element in the vice president and prime minister?
of course, of course. I mean, he has mentioned Sekandi. Like the man has been in that post for 2 times, and the poor Ugandans have actually made a joke out of it, reminding themselves every month that this man is still the vice president of Uganda, you know, jokingly. And it's funny, every time you stumble across it on social media, you know, you can't help it but laugh out really loudly, because it's just a joke. He places people in these positions because he knows these people are not going to challenge him should the need arise. Like, he is changing laws in the constitution, and nobody, I mean, they have tried, but most of the times he has the majority in parliament. So therefore, he's bound to pass every law the way he wants it. And he places these people in these positions as, I mean, as paying them for being loyal, and then expecting something from them in return.
Talk about the issue of Nabanja being the boss to Kadaga, Honorable Kadaga, the right Honorable Kadaga. I mean, does it really come up to your, you know, logic to see such a kind of arrangement whereby, exposed as she is, the former Speaker of Parliament has to stand up when Honorable Nabanja comes into, you know, that kind of, do you expect it to happen?
Yeah, but like I can go back to what I said earlier, that that position was not supposed to be for Nabanja. It's just because the other person that was had been selected, or selected for the position, kind of jumped ship and refused the position, claiming that it will be political suicide for him to join Museveni's government. But I'm of the view that Kadaga herself has not done much for Uganda. Like, she hasn't made any positive impact towards the running of the country, apart from standing with the president to pass legislations or legislations that have had a negative impact on the country.
Thank you so much. Let me go to Proskovia. I mean, all this said, we look at a kind of situation whereby we have position versus power. All these people that have been appointed as ministers seem to be just rubber stamp for the regime, because they will be just informed of what to do, other than them trying to, come up and sit and resolve of what they are going to do. And again, when you look at what is going to happen, do you think this cabinet will have a chance to articulate what they have in their skills and knowledge, or it will be just a rubber stamp from the president, whereby the president will just be telling them what to do? There must be another power behind, which is trying to, to dictate what the ministers are going to do. Do you think that cabinet will do anything other than being a rubber stamp to the president?
First, as a women activist, this time round, I think I must say that women are happy because their numbers increased. Because when we try to see, now we have 14 full ministers against 32, and 23 against the 50 state ministers. And this is something that basically the women have always tried to fight for, like to see them taking part in the politics of Uganda and maybe probably getting high positions in the government. However, I wonder whether the appointees will still have an impact. Because when we look at the cabinet, just like the former speakers have said, the retired Major Jessica Alupo, who is the vice president of Uganda, when you look at her, she has been a great mobilizer of the NRM. And it has been Museveni's policy always to choose people whom he thinks that will be loyal and submissive to him. And of course, when you look at submissiveness, it will come with objectiveness. Now, Museveni, it is his culture for the past so many years that if you do not, if you're not loyal to him, if you cannot go down to him, you can never serve as a minister in his executive. So it would be a very great lie that even the former cabinet ministers probably they had much to do in the cabinet. It was always just a shadow, because when you look at, just like Mr. Arias said, when you look at the past ministers of Uganda, none of them has come out with a project that has benefited Ugandans, apart from always being on the side of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. He's the one to tell them what to do. He's the one to tell them this is what is supposed to be done. You find that a lot of money has been passed, and that is why Uganda has got so many debts right now, because money goes into things that are not benefiting the country. Now, when we go back to the women that have been appointed as cabinet ministers, when you look at the prime minister, who is the leader of business government now.
Go ahead.
Yes. You find that when I saw Kadaga being under Robin Anabanja, I even laughed, because it is practically impossible that Kadaga can go down to consult Nabanja, by the virtue that she has got experience, by the virtue that she has got so many high positions, and the woman thinks that she has it all to be under Nabanja. So it is going to create a lot of controversies within the cabinet, and at the end of the day, we shall not see service delivery. reaching to the people, and eventually the Ugandans are not going to benefit from the cabinet. And the other thing, I think that the cabinet, when you look at it, Museveni, as he has always done, he removes someone from this ministry to the other without looking at the ability, without looking at how much the person has done in the past ministry. So you find that someone has been probably the Minister of Agriculture. This time he's taking him to the Ministry of Lands.
This time
irrespective of whether,
yes.
yes,
He was the new Minister of Defense was from the agriculture.
Of looking at whether someone has done delivery, whether someone has done their service, he just replaces them because they're the people that are loyal to him. They're the people that understand him. Maybe probably also because they're the people that are good mobilizers to his party. He looks at the party so much. If you are not a good mobilizer, and this is evidence from the central region of Uganda, where we have the capital city, and that is Kampala, and Buganda generally, you look at the people that were there and those that the ministers he had got in the past cabinet. This time round, he threw them away because he thinks they didn't do much in their party to mobilize Ugandans to vote for them, because he did not do well in the central in the past election. And when you look to the likes of Betty Kamia, when you look to the Chiwanda, Subi Chiwanda, and probably Nachwala Change, they're all coming from the central where he did not perform well. Now, he didn't have a reason of bringing them back because the NRM party did not perform well. This shows you that where the country is heading, it's not now about service delivery. It's now about who can be loyal to Museveni, who can sit down and listen to him, who can buy his ideas, and maybe who is not going to be against him. Because when we look at Ruhakana Rugunda, the former prime minister, I think he was capable enough to stand in that position. He would be capable of advising the president on what is right and what is wrong. Now, I barely doubt that Robin Anabanja can do so. He can face Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and tell him, my president, what you're doing is not right.
Yes, Professor, thank you very much. We cannot go beyond this. Let's first have a break, and then when we come back, we're going to start another issue of the COVID crisis in Uganda. Let's have a break for now as we come back. Thank you so much, viewers, and we are clear and loud also on UNN radios. Try to give out the best out of it, and try to share our videos to everyone so that we can be able to reach everybody that needs to understand the situation in Uganda and out of Uganda. Let's go for the break, and when we come back, don't go away. We come back with another topic. Don't go away. Welcome back from the break, and welcome you once again to the tower at UNN. Here we are again and try to discuss some of the issues that are trending in Uganda. Right now, I would like us to look at the issue of COVID in Uganda. This evening in Uganda, I've just lost one of my close friend. We grew up together. He has been working at the civil aviation, and it is really a very bad moment. And actually, one of the issues that we need to look at as we look at the crisis in Uganda, before we go ahead, let's have our producer giving us one of the videos, and then after that we come and try to look at what is the problem in Uganda. Why are we having a lot of people dying? Thank you. Can we have the video right now?
What is doing well? Yeah, I'm doing. I know you. Kamba mchezo. Yosamula ni kaje bakuchiteka mto from Sakofuta home bus. We are from Namaiva. Same situation. Link same. Kampala has people.
I think what it wasn't.
Kampala has people.
And most of them they hear now.
Yeah, the lockdown is what is pushing people.
And it is coming.
It is coming. We just gave us.
My name is Kole Aisha. I am a student from Namungona Salaf. As per my expectation, the way I can see, the means I don't expect to travel like today, because I'm seeing every hour and then people are increasing and they are charging the transport very high. So I don't think I'll be able to travel today because of the transport.
When they closed schools,
I felt very bad because I had thought that now, since Museveni had said that we should come back to school, we are going to study and sit for our exam, because he had said that we are going to spend one month and a half to complete our senior theory work. Then we shall go home for like a holiday, so 2 weeks, then we come back in August for our senior 4. But it was so disappointing that he closes the school and as well as the church and the mosques. Kale, my appeal to our fellow students is that
maybe to the government and to the students.
For us as students, now that they have closed us and we are going home, we just need to take care of ourselves, and where necessary, we need to do some kind of hand working if necessary. But more so, my appeal goes to my fellow girls. We should keep ourselves, we should abstain from this early sex. Anyone can deceive us right now. I know most of the people there, guys, are waiting for us outside just to disappoint us. So we should not make these 42 days that they have given us ruin the entire life of ours. And my appeal to the government is that they should have mercy upon us students, because by closing us, we students, it will not make our country develop. Instead, after some years, our country will be totally ruined.
King Brian Innocent. I'm a student of business administration at Makerere University College of Business and Management Science. I am traveling to Yam district, but I've been here since 7 a.m. Up to now, I've not yet got the bus. Initially, I'd come with only 50,000 shillings. I thought that would be enough to take me up to Yam or Lira. But on reaching here, I found that those who are heading that side, you should be having either 100,000 or 120,000. So it was not been easy. So I'm still here stranded. So my request is to the government that if it's possible, they should first of all try to actually extend the date, not the 10th. I think this coming Thursday. At least should be extended up to the end of this week, so that more students can actually leave this place.
When the president announced about the suspension of school.
Thank you very much. I think you have seen the video, and one of the things that we should understand is that schools were suspended, but there was no any solution that was given for the people and the students to help them cover up during the suspension, I mean, at home. Number two, if the parents had paid their money, and just a few months ago, now you're sending them to go home, and the schools are going to ask for another money after the suspension of schools. Then look at the issue to do with the business. Business have been halted, but what is the solution? What are people going to eat in this kind of crisis? Number three, when you look at what is really happening in Uganda, is it a reality that people are dying of COVID? What is behind the curtain? Now, one of the issues again that I realized, I was talking to some of the doctors in Uganda. Ever since it broke out, I was making some kind of survey. And what I realized is that many of these people that are dying, one, are corporate people. The elites are the one dying so fast. Two, these are the people, majority of the people were vaccinated. Oh, they were. And when you look at most of these people that were vaccinated, the question is, were they checked whether they were having COVID or not? Another point to note is that if at this time people are dying, is it another wave that has come in? If not another wave, what is the government doing? Is it doing for the benefit of getting money? These are the questions that I want my people or my guests to tell us and explain some. Mr. Kisitu, let me start with you. Here is a situation, people are dying. I have a friend, a great friend of mine that has just died this evening. There is a conspiracy that all these people that are dying are more of elites that we are forced to vaccinate. I would like you to tell me one thing. Do you know, have you heard of the situation whereby these people were being vaccinated without checking whether they are COVID positive or not? Let's start from there. Mr. Kisitu, I'm with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. But thank you so much. But I let me hope that I picked all your statements right, because something was not right somewhere. Okay. If you don't mind, can you please let me know what the questions were specifically?
I'm talking about the issue of
the network had issues.
The elites are the ones that have really surfaced too much in the deaths. The elites. Do you hear me? Okay, let's go to Proskovia. Proskovia, do you hear me, please? Yes, I am.
Yeah, yes. That statement, the elites have died so much.
Yes, the elites are dying too much. On top of that, I want you people who are in Uganda and you're among the elites to tell us, were there any measures that somebody was being vaccinated, being checked COVID before vaccinating that person?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Now, when we come to the COVID issue, first, one, I want to inform everyone that COVID is there in Uganda. That is the first thing I can say. However, there is an exaggeration of COVID-19 in Uganda. When you look at the rate at which they're saying COVID is spreading in Uganda and the people that are dying, there is an exaggeration. The people who are vaccinated, just as you've just asked, were not checked first. Because I remember very well the ministry came up and it said people should go for vaccination, and whoever was willing and whoever had money went for vaccination. Minus the government looking at whether people are COVID patients or not. They're even trying to tell children, young children who are in schools, the parents to take them for vaccination. But what stopped parents was because they were hiking the prices of vaccination, and most of the parents could not afford. Now, when you look at what is happening and the rate at which people are dying, it clearly shows that not everyone that they're saying is dying of COVID-19 is really dying of COVID-19. Yes, there are people who have been victims of the disease and of the pandemic. But again, Uganda is trying to forget all other diseases at the expense of COVID-19. You find that now in Masaka, I hear the clinics are being said to close. Saying all clinics should close, those who have been treating people of other diseases. Now our question comes in to the government, and we ask the government of Uganda, is it trying to forget that the other diseases, cancer, diabetes, pressure, fever, and so many other diseases that people have that are also actually threats to people's lives? The government is trying to show us that it's only COVID-19 that is now in Uganda, and it's the only disease that is trying to take away people's lives. When you go to the issue of children and schools, now it is a fact that most of the big schools in Uganda are owned by government officials. Now, it is quite alarming that when you look at international schools, the school actually they're continuing, they're studying since the first phase of COVID-19. They've been studying, and the question comes that does COVID-19 only affect children or schools that have got children from humble backgrounds? Now, the likes of Green Hill, the likes of Aga Khan, and so forth, are still school ongoing. They're not affected just because the ministers and so many other people in government can afford to take their children and pay and keep them in school. So this brings a lot of doubt that really COVID-19 does exist in this country. When you put children at home, they're more at a risk of even getting COVID-19 than in school. I think the government would just come up with measures to see how best they can control the pandemic other than stopping children. Because our worry is, what if COVID-19 does not end today or tomorrow or next year? Are children going to sit home until, because we are seeing cases of early pregnancies increasing, so many children have died just because they're home and they've got accidents. Remember, parents wake up in the morning to go and work, to look for something for them to survive. Now, these children are left home, moving all over villages, loitering, and at a very high risk of getting the pandemic or the disease, or being affected by the disease more than they would be in school. So our major issue was that, can the government come up with another maybe idea of ensuring that these children are kept in school, but on the other hand, they are protected. The business of telling us that today, now children went back to school, parents paid fees. After 2 weeks, they're told to go back home for holiday. They go away, they come back. It's becoming a business, maybe for schools actually, to recover the money they lost during the first phase of COVID-19.
The parent and the children.
Yes, at the expense of the parents who have also not been working, where the economy is totally down, and the government has not come up to say anything about, the way schools are conducting themselves in a manner that actually they're over-exploiting parents now, which parents also do not have the money.
Right.
So we are seeing a very big weakness within the government this time round. 3, the Ministry of Health. We want to ask our ministry, in the first phase of COVID-19, we saw so many people, so many companies, so many people coming up and donating money, donating so many things to help out in fighting the pandemic. And these things were not used actually. Why Ugandans are not actually responding positively to COVID-19? It's because it is so hurting that in the first phase of COVID-19, Museveni and his health minister, they made the country to sit home. All Ugandans sat in the houses. Now, where all Ugandans were sat in the houses and they're not working, they're not moving, and someone comes up and says, you know what, COVID is increasing because people from Kenya are entering into the country. It was so alarming. It was recklessness of the highest order that the government can allow people from other countries to come in the country to bring the disease into the country at the expense of Ugandans who have sat home. So this time round, it is so hard to convince people to again sit home, because everyone you tell, they tell you, we shall sit home, but still other people will still be coming into the country. Why don't I just go and work, earn a living? Because even when I sit home, it still be the same case. The government will still let in other people. We had so many cases of people who are COVID-19, like were positive, but were not coming from Uganda, they're coming from other countries. Now, there is something that is not clear. Either it is becoming a business for the government, either the government wants money, that is why it is exaggerating cases, but we are not sure that all the cases they're telling us are really genuine. Especially the health minister, and hold on, there is one thing that is actually beating our minds, that before, actually last year as we're heading to the election, they used to tell us that COVID-19 was at its peak. Cases were so many. We went into the election, cases were so many. Now, after that time of elections, numbers increased totally. To the time of President swearing in, there are no cases. Now, after the president had sworn in, cases now increased. Now, there is actually something that we are trying to sense, that probably being the fact that the economy is down and now the government even does not have money to run the country, they need money. Money that was stolen in COVID in the first phase. Now, they need money to run the country, and now money is not available. So they have to create all ways of ensuring that they get money to make sure that they can facilitate the services of the country. But this time round, we are saying, can the country be running? Because honestly, if the government failed to give out food, just mere food, to only maybe 2 districts in Uganda, now, again, putting people to another lockdown, how is it going to be? Children are home, people are not working, the economy is down, everyone is frustrated. Aren't people just going to kill themselves? Is it only COVID-19 that we are looking at that is a risk to Ugandans? Don't we think that marriages are breaking up because of poverty? Don't we think that the other thing that is making the high spread of COVID is because we do not have facilities? Look at Mulago Hospital. Uganda's National Referral Hospital was sold off. It is so alarming that now we have only 5% in Mulago Hospital. When you go there today, you cannot access medical facilities. They'll either tell you to go to Kawempe or Chirudu. Now, You look at how many Ugandans now, we find it's only Chiludu and Kawempe that can now help people, especially in the central. But how many are we in the central? You find that those who are suffering, the pregnant mothers now, we have COVID patients, now we have people have so many problems that need them to be hospitalized. Now, the only facilities, the only hospitals now we have are only 2, which 2 are not enough. And the government just sold off a referral hospital. There is no, when you look at other countries.
I think we have, given the problem of our time, let's thank you very much for your articulation. Let me go to Mr. Chisitu. You are trying to explain a situation whereby Proskovia has talked about the issue of the government having no money, now trying to create a situation whereby they can get some money through all this pain, and the burden is put on the people of Uganda. I want you to get sense out of this again by looking at what do you think has caused the crisis in Uganda about COVID? Go ahead.
I'm unfortunate that the words are not clear. I'm unfortunate. And like I had the last word, Uganda. Yes, but those that you are talking about are not clear to me, please. Can you please repeat again?
What I'm saying, do you hear me now? Do you hear me? Okay, we have a problem with the network. Let's have Liz. Madam Elizabeth, we are trying to look at a situation whereby the Proskovia has brought a very pertinent issue when it comes to the government vis-a-vis COVID. The crisis seems to be a little artificial, though on one hand, people are dying. As I told you, I've lost my good friend this evening. Now, here is a situation that the government coffers have really gone to the dogs. And here the government wants to find a way in which they can obtain money and also giving a justification. I had one person saying something yesterday that even if somebody is not sick of COVID, they will try to impart or to put it in people's mind that that person, and they actually the SFC get in charge, and they take away everybody and they declare such a person to be having COVID. What is your take about this situation?
What they do best. I can take you back to the locusts, whereby they tried so hard to prove to an ordinary Ugandan that we had a swarm of locusts coming from Kenya. Any opportunity for them to raise money, they'll go for it, regardless the shame it puts upon, the masterminders. So for me, I'm looking at it in a sense that here we go again, I understand. I've had quite a few people that have passed, and these are responsible people. But then we are wondering, is it COVID? Have they been tested? Yeah? They're not carrying out postmortems. They're rushing these people to their graves. Obviously, if they were to keep them around to, to have a prognosis for everybody, I'm sure they will never be able to cope. They were given money in the first lockdown, the first outbreak, to repair the hospitals, to prepare themselves for an outbreak. They went for a party. They used all this money to do their personal problems. We are being run, or the government is being run by thugs who have not worked in the best interest of the fellow citizens of Uganda. So for me, however much they're going to try and convince us that there is an outbreak, there is an exaggeration as well. There is no doubt about it. We've heard not even rumors, there are audios and videos that are making rounds on social media. And there are accusations that SFC is involved. I mean, why are they in hospitals? There's no crisis. At least we're not seeing the crisis. We haven't seen anything to alarm us, to make us think that now we need a national army. It's not even the national army, it's the president's army that is getting involved in running these hospitals and coming in and taking away anybody, whether you come in with a temperature, malaria, and all these things, you're being swept away to a COVID ward. And it is alleged that within minutes, these people have been pronounced dead. So I don't know what Museveni is going to do. We know there is a crisis. We know that the government coffers have run empty because of the way the government is being mismanaged. The country's finances are being mismanaged. So he is going to try harder. I'm sure with all the embargoes that the international community have put across because of the way funds are being misused, human rights abuses, and so on and so forth, I think the money that used to trickle in has dried down a bit. So President Museveni and his fellow NRM cadres that are good at designing strategies to get money from the so-called idiots, because remember, he said these people during the election that they were idiots. I'm sure they're keeping their pockets tight as well because of his behavior. Now he's doing everything to prove to them that we have a crisis back home and we need money. But he has not handled this very well. Remember that the schools had only just reopened and now they're closed. As the responsible person in charge of a country, there should have been a better way to deal with this respective lockdown. So it's money, money, money. He hasn't prepared for it. So I wonder what the fellow Ugandans are going to do in this situation. Whether it is COVID or not, there is no way to prove that we're actually undergoing a crisis at the moment. When it happened in India, it was there for all of us to see. Here is behind closed doors. I'm sure if the international reporters came in, they would stop them from filming anything. Because it doesn't.
Actually, today I was watching CNN and we're talking about the variant that we are having in Uganda is the same as the one in India or South Africa. So
India.
In India. So I mean, people are dying like flies and flies and they try to don't have a solution. So what do you think people in Uganda should do? Because we are their mirror. We try to, establish what exactly they should do. Because when you look at a situation like, for sure, in some places, people are dying. And in this regard, there is a kind of observation that those that are dying are the ones that have been vaccinated. And at the same note, those that have died are the elites. Those are the ones who are dying.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, there is a saying that you need the second booster shot to back up your immunity. In this situation, they've all had one. There's a reason why we're having two vaccines, or two. You have to be vaccinated twice to be able to regard yourself as immune against the virus. So majority of people haven't managed to get the second one. I don't even know whether there is any record who has had war and when they're supposed to have the second one, because the system is so run down and is not being monitored. So if the crisis hits us, I'm sure it's the same crisis that will take Mr. Museveni out of power. He has clung on far too long, but I'm hoping that this crisis will sweep him off his feet and he will go with the wave.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't know whether we can get Elias. Elias was trying to give a very good analogy of what is really happening. I don't know where we've lost Elias, and if we have, I would wish. So we had an issue briefly that we had to discuss, but because of time, I'll give each one of you just 1-2 minutes so that you can look at it. The issue of the budget. Because I remember that time when we were still growing, we remember that we used to sit on our radios and TVs waiting for the news regarding the budget. So right now, I don't see anybody now waiting for the budget and don't expect anything. As a student, Proskovia, do you have any sense out of the budget? Does it have any impact right now?
Modulator, where you thought to put the biggest percentage of the budget in things that benefit the majority of Ugandans, then I would think the budget would cease to have essence. Because when you look at Uganda's budget, even for the past years, peace and security have always been given the highest. Most of the money would go to the army, and in actual sense, you find that the country is at peace. There is no war, but you find that in each budget that is being read every financial year, you find that the army is given most of the biggest percentage of money, and to the expense of the health sector, to the expense of the education sector, the agriculture sector. And yet we know, every Ugandan knows that Uganda is basically living on agriculture, because it is it is what is actually the biggest thing that Ugandans are relying on. But then you find that the government is putting most of the money into buying guns and every other thing. So as Ugandans, as citizens, we lose interest, because at the end of the day, every time they read the budget, you see that money is allocated into things that are not benefiting the majority. And then the other thing would be that you find that, for example, even the little that is put, for example, in infrastructure, into the health sector, you find that every year there are roads that are being read in the budget. Every now and then, it is the same road, it is read in this budget, they read it in another budget, but money is being passed, and these roads are not being worked on. So you really ask yourself, where does this money go? So because of the high rates of corruption, and there is surplus actually. And that is why we are getting actually not interested anymore. Uganda can no longer make a budget that it can finance itself. Every time they read the budget, we have to go into debts to finance the budget. So we really ask ourselves, why can't the government come up with a budget it can finance itself? You keep on allocating money to sectors that are not benefiting us, trillions of money into the army, into, but at the end of the day, you buy guns and they're seated there. There is no reason as to why he keeps on buying the grenades and whatsoever. It's all about the money is being used to actually violate human rights. Now, where should we pick the interest from? I think we're no longer interested in budget because it's becoming actually ceremonial, as you said.
Okay, thank you, Proskovia. Elizabeth, within a few minutes, as we try to wind up, can you get sense, do you really see that vibe that we used to have in the budget, where it could be read and everybody sits on his television and radio trying to listen on what has gone high, what has gone low, which people have been raised their salaries and all that.
Yes, Kasalaga, I think Proscovia has put it really, really well. I mean, what is there to look up to or look up for? There is absolutely nothing. Even if money is allocated, it's going to end up in their pockets, and it's not going to benefit the ordinary Ugandan. So it is indeed a waste of our time. It's not something you look up to or look forward to, given the fact that it's just a ceremonial, it's for ceremonial purposes. It's not the fact that they're allocating money to go towards. I mean, if I worked in health and money, I would look forward to finding out how much money is going to be allocated to the health sector. But on this occasion, yes, it will be allocated, even though more times it's going to be less than what goes to the army, because he has given the army more priority, given the fact that he wants to keep himself in power. But, the money is allocated and then it's spent elsewhere. It goes into people's pockets. All the officials that are put in charge of those monies are corrupt. The president knows that, and he has not given a damn about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Elizabeth. And actually, we've lost Elias, unfortunately, because of his line is having trouble. And we wanted, because being an economist would have given us a very good, also clear picture about what happened really in the budget. As we try to wind up and wrap up, I would like to open up the lines and the messages, the voice messages for our viewers to express their views about what we are trying to analyze and actually give the sense out of what they think is going on in Uganda, because Uganda is for everybody. I would ask my producer to put the lines on as we get some callers online to see what is going on. Please call us and give us your view about what you think is going to help Uganda get out of all this mess. On our numbers as they run on on the screen, please feel free to call us or send a voice as we continue to analyze some issues. Proscovia, you talked about the issue of Ugandans expecting nothing from the regime. And you as a student of law, you understand that the only way Uganda can get out of this mess is elections. You have to go to the elections. The elections have gone now. We are counting another 5 years. Do you expect anything that can be done so soon about the COVID situation, given the ministries that have been set up and they don't do nothing, money is being swindled, and you don't see anything coming out? There's no planning at all. Research is down. What do you think anything might be, improved soon regarding COVID?
Well, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Just like I said before, we've actually lost hope, and so many Ugandans have lost hope. There is totally nothing that we are expecting from the government by the mere fact that the president himself and his executive, he overpowered everything, the legislature and the parliament and the judiciary, because when you find that Museveni's trick was having realized that legislations are done in parliament, now he had to take over the parliament to ensure that whatever he wants passes the way he wants it to pass. Now, after passing all such legislations, you find that even when you want something, maybe probably you're expecting something from the parliament, maybe they can come up with, for example, an idea that maybe can help Ugandans to get out of this problem that is at hand. You find that he's still giving orders to the ministers, to the NRM cadres being the majority in parliament, and whatever he wants is what is supposed to be done. So literally we've lost hope, because we would have so much hope in the parliament, but then by the fact that he has taken over the parliament and he's done to give orders to the NRM cadres, and they're the majority, they're the ones that are supposed, maybe for example, if it's all about passing money and maybe it's passing something, maybe a bill, they're the majority, what is in their interest is what will pass. So our only prayer is maybe God taking President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, by the fact that even the Constitution gives him so much powers. And that is where the biggest problem comes from. That even when
So you mean, Proskov, do you mean that if the government has to change, I mean, what's your take on, do you want a new constitution that will reduce the powers of the president, or
we may not, yes, we may not have a new constitution, but we may have certain amendments within the constitution itself. Yes, because when you look at the constitution, he's making Museveni the supreme. It's giving him so many powers that even after him rigging the election, when you go to court, the procedures of the procedures you go into are not favorable, that the other opponent can win.
They are totally.
Yes, they're not favorable. You find that the courts will tell you, bring evidence. Now you have to produce the originals of these DRR forms. Now someone tells you the DRR forms were confiscated by SFs and the army, and then you tell them, no, that would not be, photocopies would not be evidence. You get? So the constitution itself is not favorable, actually. And by the fact that we do not have democracy in Uganda it's just a mere say. Because when you look at whatever is taking place, I think the army has to pull out of this. There is no reason as to why the army is occupying every town, every village within Kampala, within Uganda. As someone is moving at night, you come across people, the army men. They're beating people. They're harassing people at night. Now, you really look for the instance of fighting COVID-19 and where it does exist, and you fail to get it. Because if you really, they don't put on masks, but they want the rest of Ugandans to put on masks. And you really ask yourself, someone is getting you, why are you not putting on the mask, but himself is not putting on the mask? No, you really wonder what we are going to.
Let me bring in Elizabeth to come in on, because we had an issue, like when you saw the video, Elizabeth, when you saw the video that was run initially, it was showing that the people were so much crowded that you couldn't think those people were being told to run away from COVID. And yet some of them were not even masked. Others were, so stranded, and, and you don't see any element of COVID. If you look at what happened at the inauguration,
Park, yeah, when people are fearing that there's going to be another lockdown and they're running to villages, but what was in the parks could just show you that if COVID-19 is in Uganda, then it is going to spread more, but the government was just looking on.
Yes, Elizabeth, I want you to come in here and give your sense on this. If you look at all this, does really the government feel like something has to be done, or they are doing it just to see that they are doing something, when in the actual sense it's not what they're intending to do?
For me, it just beats my understanding as to why the army is involved at all. Why doesn't President Museveni put the responsibility into our hands to take care of our own health and safety? You know, well, the situation in Kampala has been, you know, most of the places where people work, like the downtown Chikubo, there's the bus park, the car park, the taxi park, and the markets.
Yours.
Got it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they're always overcrowded. And yet you find the army people on the streets or in the villages beating up people who are sitting in a group of 4, whilst downtown in Kampala is fully packed. It just beats the logic. I don't know what they're doing. Curfew since the first lockdown has stayed. I wonder what sort of impact curfew is supposed to be having towards the protection of people, preventing people from, you know, acquiring the virus itself. It's just not clear. For me, I'm thinking President Museveni should have equipped the hospitals with the necessary treatment and make sure that if there was an outbreak, then they'll be able to combat that. But he hasn't done any of that. When the money came in, obviously it vanished through thin air. He knows where this money has gone. Yeah? So instead of having prepared us for the inevitable, he's now putting the army on the street to beat the hell out of us. And I don't know how that is supposed to be effective.
Yeah. Anyway, we cannot, things a lot to discuss, and I think we had a lot of time that we could cover up some part of it. Otherwise, there are a lot of things that are trending in Uganda. As we try to wind up, I'll try to give each of you 2 minutes to wrap up. Can we start with Madam Elizabeth? Can you wrap up in 2 minutes and say bye-bye to our viewers as we close down?
Well, it was nice to be here. I'm just asking every Ugandan out there to do their level best to make sure that they're safe from this virus. I mean, the government has left it into our hands to take care of ourselves and loved ones. They're not going to be involved whatsoever. So please, you wear your mask and make sure that you seek for any emergency help once you think or you suspect that you have acquired or you have been infected. I don't know about there's food shortages. There's always food shortages because during the first lockdown we had serious problems. This time around, he has announced the lockdown, and there is nothing said about how people are going to be fed. I understand they're free to come out and work, but make sure they leave the city at around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then curfew kicks in at 9 o'clock. So there are those people like who haven't got enough money. They had just taken their children back to school and now the schools are closed. Has the government put down any strategies to support these families? You know, so I don't know who Ugandans need to talk to about this, but it seems like we have been on our own for such a long time and we have gotten used to being just that. But, you know, I think we need to pray about this because if we have the Indian strain, if we have variant, it's going to be very, very problematic for our country because we don't have a functioning health system.
Thank you very much, Madam Elizabeth. We always appreciate your coming to the Tower at UNN, and we hope to see you again on Sunday. Let me have also Proskovia to say the last words, and then we'll see how we close down.
Thanks. It has been quite a long time, but a great one to share such views with the rest of the people. As I'm winding up, my emphasis would go to the government actually. let the government ensure that probably the children go back to school, because this is affecting so many generations in the coming future, to ensure that the government facilitates hospitals. However much we think COVID and hospitals are not well equipped, people are still going to lose their lives. Now, the other issue would also be that probably the army gets out of this. Just as Madam Elizabeth has just said, that Ugandans can protect themselves. It just needs actually sensitization to them, and making sure that those people down deep in the villages actually they get that clear message. This is what is supposed to be done. So harassing me and beating me is not a solution. But when you give me a clear message that maybe put on your mask, wash your hands, do this, so this and this, follow the soaps, you will be able to protect yourself from the virus. Then I think it would make so much sense than maybe putting the army into people. The money that the government is using actually to pay these army men and maybe give them, feed them, cover them up. It can use it actually to make sure that the things that are bought and are equipped in hospitals, such that if people go to hospitals, medicine is there, and maybe other first aid materials are provided within the hospitals. Yeah, that is what I can say. And I end up by encouraging all Ugandans, yes, to follow the SOPs. Let us follow the SOPs. Let us stay home if necessary. Let us avoid crowd places. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Proskovia. It was a pleasure having you on the tower at UNN, and we hope to see you again over the same, trying to analyze issues of Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot go beyond this. The problem we have in Uganda is very elastic, and every one of you is responsible, and we have to fight it by ourselves. We need good governance, we need good politics, we need a good economy, and this cannot be done unless we ourselves participate and try to bring this to our beloved country. There is a lot that you need to do. I told you we need corporate people at UNN, writers, professionals, and we are trying to write something or documents that can really help our country to go to the right direction. So feel free always to contact us on our number, as it has been always running, and try to bring to us what you think is gonna. Before we close down, we had lost Mr. Kisitu, and let's have him within 3 minutes to have his say about the issue of the budget as well as the COVID issue. Just briefly in 3 minutes as we wind up, because my producer wants me out of. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot have Mr. Elias. I think we shall have him another day. We just beseech you to keep your eyes on UNN, because this is where the only way we can find we can find the truth, and the truth will set you free. Don't forget that we have a great show that comes next after this. That is tonight with Henry Gombia, episode 9. That is when you'll be discussing with Prince Paul and Mr. Henry Gombia, the author of Lugangereza, and we'll be with him tonight. Thank you very much, viewers. We cannot go beyond this. We ask you to keep on your eyes on UNN as you support it to survive and grow, and wish you the best of the day. God bless you, and God bless Uganda. Thank you very much.